here's something that's gonna sting a little. Many of the people who skip your webinar already decided not to show up days before you even went live. It wasn't your webinar. It wasn't your reminder emails. It wasn't the time of the day. It wasn't even your topic. The no-show was baked in the moment they sign up. So I've spent past 10 years and over 2 million event leads filling webinars for coaches and course creators. And I'll tell you the most common thing I've heard.
Terence, I get tons of registrations, but most of them never show up. What's happening?
Does that sound familiar? Well, here's the good news. Show up rate is not luck. It's a formula. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. In this video, I'm gonna unpack the show up formula. 5 levers that get more of your registrations to actually turn up live. We've pushed clients from a 20 or 30% show up rate all the way up to 84% using these exact levers. And at least one of these is gonna change how you run your webinars and even your business. So if you're ready, let me show you the 5 levers. Most people treat low attendance like a reminder problem. So they add more emails, they fuss over send times, they basically beg people to show up, and it barely moves the needle. And here's what's interesting. Attendance isn't worn on webinar day. It's worn long before that. Think about a dinner reservation. When you book your table and the restaurant does not take a deposit, you bail without a second thought. You know, we all do. But the place that took your credit card, well, you show up, or at least you call to cancel. Same person, different level of commitment. Your webinar works exactly the same way. The more someone invests before the event, the more likely they are to show. So the whole formula comes down to one idea. Stop begging for attendance. Start building commitment even on the landing page itself. So let's get practical and let's get into the 5 levers. The first idea is sell the seat, don't take the booking. See, most registration pages are built like a form. Name, submit, done in 3 seconds. But here's the problem. A form that collects lead, it does nothing to create commitment. When someone signs up without feeling anything and the email is pre-populated, they'll forget you just as fast. Instead, treat that registration page like you're selling a seat, because you are, even though it's a free webinar. You get them to fill up details about themselves before they are allowed to register. Look, it might take them an extra minute or 2 to fill up the details, because the job of the page is not to simply collect an email. It's to make someone think, I have to be there for this. So you sell the outcome before they even ever sign up. You make one specific promise. You tell them exactly what they walk away with once they attend your webinar. When the sign up feels like a real decision, not a reflex, you already won half the battle. And before you say it, yes, you will get fewer signups for the same amount of money. And that's good, because people who do opt in are warmer. They are more committed, and they are far more likely to actually show up. 100 committed registrants beats 1,000 tar kickers every single time. Quality of registration beats quantity. Write that one down. So, second idea is to make your landing page do the heavy lifting. Okay, so we agree that the page sells seat. Now, let me show you what actually goes on it, because this is where most webinars leak before they even start. Start with the headline. It's the single biggest lever on the whole page. A vague headline gets you a vague commitment. Join my free webinar on improving your marketing. Promises nothing. Nobody clears the calendar for that. A specific headline does the opposite. Name the exact result. Name how long it takes. Something like one exercise you can do 3 minutes a day that will reduce your back pain by at least 50%. See the difference? One is noise, the other is a reason to be in the room. Then back it up. Put 3 or 4 bullets on the page, each one a concrete thing they'll learn. Not just tips, real outcomes that they can picture in their minds. Now, change your button, because submit is what you do on the tax return. Don't use submit. Use save by spot instead. It frames the click as claiming something, not handing something over. One more thing that almost everyone skips: Put your face on the page. Add social proof, who you are, and why you've earned 60 minutes of their day. Do this and your page stops being just a submission form. It becomes the very first reason they show up. Now, lever 3 is to win the gap between sign up and live. Here's where it gets really interesting because there's a window between the moment someone registers and the moment you go live. Most businesses do absolutely nothing with it. That's a massive miss because that gap is where attendance is actually won or lost. And most businesses, they're afraid to email too much or SMS too much. So you need two things to fill that gap. First, your reminder sequence. An email on its own is not enough. In fact, email drives most of your registrations, around 86% of them, but inboxes are crowded. Your reminder gets buried under 50 other emails. The top webinars, they send email reminders every single day before the event. And on the day of the event alone, they could send up to 5 different emails. I know some of you think that's too much, but that cadence alone can lift your attendance by around 30%. But you can do better. You go where the message cannot be ignored, and that's text messages. Let me give you a real example. My client Jordan had a 10 to 11% show up rate for his 2 webinars. We added 3 simple SMS reminders. One 24 hours before, one an hour before, and one 15 minutes after the webinar went live to catch the stragglers. Just 3 simple texts. Guess what? Show-up rates jumped from 11% to 19%. That's nearly double the people in the room just from 3 text messages. Now, the second thing that fills the gap is anticipation. Get them to do something on the thank you page, like adding themselves on the calendar or taking a short quiz. Every tiny action they take makes them more invested, and invested people will show up. And lever 4 is give them a reason to show up live. Because let me ask you something. Why would anyone show up live if they already know they'll get the replay? They won't. The replay is the enemy of attendance. I'll just catch the recording is the most common no-show excuse there is. And here's the truth. Nobody likes to admit. Most replays never get watched anyway. So I'll watch it later really means I'll never see this. So you give people a reason that only lives in the live room. Run a live Q&A where they can ask you anything. Hand out bonuses that only goes to people who show up live. Review one thing that you promised to cut from the recording. I remember one of our clients decided to do a lucky draw and hand out some Starbucks vouchers. Others have given short courses out for free for people who have attended the events. It really depends on the audience you're talking to and how they would respond. So craft your show up incentives that way and make the live event genuinely worth more than the replay. Suddenly showing up is the smart choice, not the optional one. You're not tricking anyone here, you're just making the live better than the recording, which honestly, it should be the way anyway. Alright, the final lever is to shorten the commitment. This is the last lever and it's the one almost nobody ever considers. What if people skip your webinar because they're simply asking for too much of their time, right? Think about it. A 19-minute webinar is a huge ask. People look at that block on their calendar and quietly decide, is it worth it or not? So they ghost you. But a short sharp session, that's easy to say yes to and easy to show up for. It's what we call a sprint webinar. A tight, fast format that delivers the goods in a fraction of the time. Shorter commitment, higher show up. And here's the thing, most people get it wrong. They think a longer webinar gives them more time to sell. But sometimes it actually gives people more time to drop off, zone out, or never show in the first place. So you respect the time and more of them will give it to you. So there it is. The Show Up 5 formula, the 5 levers. Sell the seat, build a landing page that does the work the gap with reminders and SMSs and your thank you page, make the live event worth more than the replay, and shorten the commitment. You don't need all 5 running on day 1. Pick the one that's bleeding the most and start there. So, quick favor, if you enjoyed this, if this gave you one idea you can use immediately in your webinar, hit the subscribe button. It really does help more people find this content, and it's good karma. And please do me a favor in the comments. What's your webinar show up rate like right now? Drop the number below, I read them, and I'll tell you which lever to fix first. Okay, so remember this one thing, attendance isn't luck. It's commitment you built on purpose. Now, if you want to see exactly how we took one client to an 84% show up rate with our proprietary Sprint webinar system, watch this case study next. It's also in the description. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.